Welcome to the Southern Downs Sit Down. Whoosh.
All right, welcome to the studio, and we're back into it. Well done, Steve. We're going to introduce everyone today a bit more formal. Had a note from the boss, Mr. PD, saying, it'd be nice to hear actually whose people's names are. So we've got Michelle Benjak over here on the left-hand side, left-hand side for everyone. Steve Dougherty in the middle, and Troy Guenther. Welcome in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
2 big rounds of racing, because we haven't covered this for a while. We've obviously had the Recondi Masters in Morgan Park, was the last one, and then we had QRC and Southern Downs round 2.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the last week of April.
April, yeah. It's been a
22nd
while.
of April.
Yeah.
So I had to get a bit of help on this one. I wasn't there because I had a bug. And who wants to fire up, and who remembers April 22? April 22 for that first round.
Oh.
Second round.
That was my
Ways
birthday.
back.
It's a way back.
Yeah, that was my birthday weekend.
Oh, happy
that
birthday.
was good.
You had a celebration there, didn't you, too?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a little get together there at the caravan park. We had a really good weekend. It ended a little bit on a sour note for myself, but the QRC was a lot of fun. I like the longer race formats. We had Production 400 we did on Sunday morning was our 9-lap race for QRC. Get a little bit more strategy in there than just go as hard as you can for the whole thing. So I ended up, that was actually my first podium in Production 400 as well. So I was pretty excited about that. Yeah, and I got 3rd place.
Nice.
Sunday afternoon I made a couple more changes to the bike, trying to go faster, and went the wrong direction, and it bit me going into turn 9. So yeah,
Fast one?
Fast one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened? Did you just lose front or something?
Yeah, I lost the front. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was taking kind of a defensive line because I didn't have the pace, and I was kind of trying to block a rider behind me, and still trying to steer into the corner as I went over the bumps, and bike didn't like it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how's the rebuild process been?
It's actually gone really well. The sponsors have been great. The amount of support that we get on the program is it's pretty incredible actually for the level of racing that we have there that we participate in, right? So we have Race DNA, Buddha's spray paint, Race Art Australia, Al Redmond down the coast with the stickers, and the bike spent a lot of time up at RBM with Gary, just bringing it all back together. We've got a couple small things to tie up before next week, but the bike it's back together again. It's looking really nice. We had it out at the Race and Road event for the East Coast Female Riders Day.
Yep.
Was that 2 weekends ago now? I think it was. Looks good.
Nice.
Just ready to go.
So you're back out on track?
I'll be back out. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Much club pilot duties that weekend?
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah. Sorry, the 22nd that weekend. Was there much happening?
So we had I had a new rider in that I shared pits with. His name is Ben. He's actually coming back for round 3.
Yeah, cool.
So he's very excited. He did the first race free deal, and he had a really good weekend. I cannot remember his time. Ben, forgive me. But if memory serves, he knocked some 20 seconds off from the start of the weekend to the end. As you do when you first learn the track. So he had a really good time.
Nice. Yeah. We'll come to you, Troy, because you've got a similar tale. Was that round, wasn't it?
When I went for an excursion off track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What happened to yourself? Like, obviously, you had the new R6. Yep. Go through it if you can. What happened that round?
All right, I'll try to do the condensed version because it was quite an interesting weekend. But so I got a couple laps into qualifying, and it was kind of sprinkling at the start of the session actually, especially over turn 9, which I was sort of out on track on my own. So that on its own right is, I guess, a little bit daunting sometimes going into there and just hoping the front end's going to stick. But I'd set a couple of laps and I was feeling alright. So then I saw the gap on a pit board and I was like, okay, this lap's the one I'm going to push. And I went into turn 1 as per normal, went into turn 2, and with these new R6s, it's essentially clutchless downshift. So I went in there and just clicked it back a gear, but unfortunately the gear didn't select. So I was already kind of pushing on the very side of the tyre, and it just jumped out of gear and unloading the front enough to just let go pretty quick. And I'm sliding along the ground. And I thought, I'm probably not allowed to say what I actually thought the exact words, but I'm seeing the bike cartwheel above me, and it wasn't ideal. Like the amount of damage it did from such a, like, I think, like,
It's a
credit,
really slow corner.
yeah, like credit to Rakondi gear, and I didn't actually test for arrow helmet on the ground, thankfully, but like I didn't, probably the most painless crash I've ever had. But then looking at the damage to the bike, you'd think I'd probably be a bit worse off, but. So that essentially left me with a very bent R6. The frame was, I forget the actual measurement out, but the forks, the triple claim, the yoke, everything was pretty bent. So I was thinking I'll be on, luckily, Brian and Carl Morgan were kind enough to let me use the pre-2K R6 for the first race, and I'd never ridden a dinosaur before, so it was like, it was like, I'm going on, and I was fortunate that my time that I set in the opening laps was still enough to stay on pole, so it set me up in a decent position. And I'm thinking, I'm on pole here on a bike I've never ridden before, like I've got to go out, and I'm trying to learn it on the warm-up lap, and they're telling me like I don't have this auto blooper or anything, it's all manual, no quick shifter, you got to wait a couple of seconds between each gear change. And I was saying to the guys earlier, like I went into turn 10 on a warm-up lap just thinking, I hit my usual brake marker, just like, probably a little bit of red mist from crashing earlier, and like I've gone in and forgot to do the whole wait rev it thing, and I've just locked it up and just like had a bit of a bug.
Wow.
And I forget, it was one of them, it was either Callum, Josh or Trevor. I looked behind and like I gave him a thumbs up and he gave me a clap, and I'm thinking this will be a long 5 or 6 claps. But yeah, like the actual riding, like once I got into that race, I guess I'll focus on that race. It's probably the highlight of a weekend for me. It was like a lot of fun to ride. Like I kind of got a bit out dragged into turn 1, and Callum made it sure that he knew that, like he got a whole shot on me, and credit to him. There was a lot of banter and the build up to that. But yeah, after the first lap, I was still third, and I was like learning the bike as the race went on, and I was thinking, oh yeah, like Brian sort of said, if you can keep a top 5 and do like a 22, I'll be over the moon. So I'm thinking, like I was thinking, I'll be lucky to go on to 25 on this thing. But then, yeah, like by the end of the race, I was able to hold on to third, and we got down to like I think 1:20 on it. So it was credit to Chris and Carl, like they've set it up really well. Like I can't really take I feel like I rode it okay, but I wouldn't, if the platform wasn't good to begin with, I wouldn't be able to jump on it and do that. So it's a credit to them. And then I got the Oscar Davidson kindly lent me his forks for Sunday, and luckily he's got a very similar, so he runs the Olin's FKR as well in the front end. It was sprung and valved slightly differently, but it wasn't actually it wasn't too bad. Like I actually kind of liked it, and it gave us a direction for us to like revalve the forks when we repaired it. So I went out, and first race, Brian had sort of said to me, like we've got this bike back together, like it was still very bent. He's like, this should make it easy for you to hopefully hold on to third. Like we're not expecting you to have to go out and necessarily win. So I went out, and by the time, Gary, RBM Racing did a fantastic job to get it back together. I literally had, I think I had a cold front tyre when I went out of the pits. It was all like sort of very, very last minute. And I took the first few laps to sort of build into it. And then, like Callum and I, like we're housemates, we always have this sort of rivalry banter. And I saw him sort of towards the end of a race start to drop off, and I'm thinking, I'm starting to get more confidence here. Like we've got plenty of heat in the front tyre. Like Trav was definitely out of reach, but Callum was sort of in between us. And then in the last couple of laps, I sort of started picking up the pace, and then I got to Cal on the last lap, and there's been this running joke about him passing me in a turn 1 on a Moto 3 years ago. So I thought, I've got a golden opportunity to return the favour here. And then I did it on the last lap, and people in the stand said it was a lot closer than what we both thought it was. I think he might have tried to turn in on me, I don't know, but like once I was out last lap, I was like, sorry Cal, like we're racing, man. And then I knew, like I've raced him for so long, he always does a cut back in the turn 2. So I just basically, I didn't brake check him, but I just parked it at the apex to where he couldn't do it, and that's probably what made it seem a bit closer.
Nice.
And then, yeah, like the rest of the weekend, I was able to, Travis Hall rode really well all weekend. Like he was essentially like, in that 9-lap race I was there, but I couldn't really make a move on him. And in that last race, it was a bit of a gamble for us because it was like a drying track. And it was funny because Callum came in off of riding on a superbike, and he said, "Oh, definitely wets, like it's too wet."
Yeah.
And then I see him go out on slicks, and I'm lucky because Brian and Carl have kind of used their experience, and then they're like, "Yeah, nah, slicks are going to be the tyre." And then poor Trav's gone out on wets, which kind of, from a points point of view, for Queensland Championships, it was good because I really needed to make points back, but you never want to do it that way.
Yeah.
And then young Josh rode really well. He just sent it in the first few laps, and he put about 2 seconds into us. And I think he ended up setting his quickest lap of the weekend in those conditions, which is a credit to him.
That's cool.
And he got a whole shot in one of the races. He was leading for a while.
He was going.
That's good to see, eh?
Yeah, and no, it was just a fun weekend. Sorry, I was probably there was a lot that happened, so I probably stretched out a bit. But it was just from where we started it to where we finished it. Like, I'm pretty happy with how it all ended up.
Tell you what, that's a pretty exciting round by the sounds of it. Because, like, judging by, as I said, I wasn't there, but judging by the times, it got wet, obviously, Sunday afternoon. Is that right?
Yeah. We had some Sunday mornings in our long race. There was almost every lap. I think it was every lap at some point in the track there was rain coming down, and it was just kind of sporadic. But like you said, like everyone was kind of ignoring it. Like everyone racing was just kind of like we didn't slow down. Yeah. So it was definitely it was something that was always in the back of my head, especially like you said, like going into turn 9, and it's like okay.
It's and we'll touch on the Masters as well, but we want to talk about a wet track.
Oh man,
that was wet and cold. That was insane. That was like we were at Phillip Island in winter. That was pretty crazy. But we'll get to that. I wanted to say something, obviously, as well, while we're touching on Production 400.
Oh, sure.
I got the note here, which is something I looked at as well. Amount of bikes on the grid.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge. I think it was 24.
Yeah.
I went through and had a bit of a count, had a look. So 24 bikes on the grid. Huge field.
Yeah.
Which is nice to see.
It's nice to see all the entries, and it makes starts are exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of people switching. Like even Michelle's converted from. She's still riding the RS125, but she's like in the clubman class, I believe. But she's still on that type of machinery, so it must be pretty attractive kind of bike and class to get involved in.
Yeah.
So Michelle, how was you did that weekend? As I say, I wasn't there. How was that weekend for yourself?
Well, not as exciting as these two, but it's all right. Still just getting a handle on it and just trying to have a bit of fun and get used to the R3 because it's totally different to the 125.
Yep.
And I'm just slowly working on my own things personally to just try and improve each time I go out.
No, nice.
So, but yeah, I mean, I had a couple of little battles and stuff there with Rose City.
Oh, Darren.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of fun.
Yep.
And back and forth, and I got him a couple of times, so that was all right.
That's perfect.
But yeah, just slowly working away.
Nice. That and we might as well touch on the weekend of Masters while we're sitting here talking about that. Now you had the Moriwaki out there.
No, the 125 out there.
The 125 out there. Sorry. So you had the 125 out there. Tell me about your tyre scenario. You had an interesting scenario on the Saturday morning. Hey?
So I only had I did take wets out there, but the rear's for an NF4, and I'm an NX4, and we didn't have the spaces to fit
for
the rear wheel. So and because we've changed like toolboxes, and I haven't really been riding the 125, so we'd taken all those spare parts out of the toolbox, so I had nothing there. So I basically got one race in the whole weekend because
spaces,
couldn't find anything from anyone. Like I asked Van Munster and stuff like that as well, and from his 125, and he didn't have anything. So I had one go.
That sucks. Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? Like it's especially when you're changing bikes out
and it would have been good too because that would have been the first time actually riding on the wets for me.
Yeah, right.
Because I've never ridden the 125. It just miraculously seems to be sunny every time I get to go out. So I've never ridden it on the wet, so that would have been a good experience. But
definitely.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to have a go.
Fingers crossed. Next weekend. You riding next weekend?
Yes.
Have you seen the long range forecast?
I haven't looked.
No, I haven't looked.
Don't look at it. But
Don't
tell you
look.
what,
Oh man.
It's so good.
Wet again.
Good.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
No, like it's like 15 days at mid. Like it's good finally. Like when you look at it, it was like 2-3 days of rain. 2-3. Like, I'm just in the middle of rain, but it's good. It looks really good for next week.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
All right. That basically covers obviously F2. We went through that with your race and obviously the crew that you battled with and that. Good to see Cal back out on a 600.
It was.
That was another thing. Obviously, that's a big highlight as well. So. That's cool.
Hopefully he comes back for... I think he's going to do the next round of state champs.
Is he?
What I understand.
All right.
So
I think he was going to try.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're still have a score to finish fair because we both kind of had a bit of an erratic weekend. It kind of meant it was the first race, and then like he had his own incident. In the last race, we had a battle again, but I think it makes us 1-1 in the races that we were sort of there. So we have to. It can't be a draw. Like, you know, when you're competitive and you live with your housemate, one of you's has got to get the upper hand.
Sure. Who's going to cook for the week?
Yeah.
There needs to be a battle.
Start raising the stakes a bit.
Yeah, there needs to be a stake in it. We've got 3 different riders here. What's the ultimate amount of laps? You've just said you enjoyed your 9 lap.
Yeah.
What do you like?
Oh, as in like an ideal race distance.
Yeah.
Like a race it? Oh, okay.
Depends how fit I am. Like, if I'm feeling good, like bring on the laps. Like, I felt good in that 9 lapper despite everything that had happened. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, and it was kind of good because I had Trav to like, because it was after Cal had gone down, it kind of left a little bit of a gap for me to try to run down on Trav, and then like the stage of a race where you'd probably get tired, I kind of had that to focus on. So I saw the last lap board and I'm thinking like, oh, damn, already?
Yeah.
And then like at the start of the year when like, you know, like say if you haven't ridden for a while, you get a bit of arm pump or whatever. Even 5 laps, especially like on a bigger bike around Morgan Park, you can feel it. So it's like when you're sort of out a bit further in front on your own, I guess you have time to think about that stuff. But
Release a bit.
yeah. Ideal number probably like 12, like 14 or 16 for ASPK. Like, you know, you can be as fit as you want around Morgan Park, but unless you've got something really to focus on, if you're doing 14 laps on your own, you're probably going to be feeling it by the end of it.
Yeah. It's a long race.
I was gonna say 12 would probably be. I've not done a race that long.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the longer ones, especially on the R3. It's got a significant power disadvantage to the 400s, and but you can see if I do my job and I keep my fitness up like I did in the last race, like you can study somebody you've got some time to kind of watch, and like you can watch someone start to back off the pace because they're getting tired, and you can capitalize on that. I really enjoy that.
Yep.
That head game, like making sure someone knows that like I am right here, I'm always right here.
Yep.
Every time that you start to slow down, I'm gonna let you see my shadow. Like,
Be there.
yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. Hey,
Yeah.
what about you, Michelle? What's your?
Well, for me, probably maybe 9 to 10, only because I'm probably not as used to racing at long distances. But it also gives you a chance that if you do make a couple of mistakes, you've got a couple of laps to gather yourself together and then get back in.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely helps with that. You know, I think from memory we did in 16 we did a 15 in Formula 3. Do you remember around that? I have a feeling
so.
it was a
Yeah,
15
it was
lapper.
around then because they did it for states.
Yeah,
Okay.
state
Yeah.
thing, and I think it was a 15 lapper.
Yeah.
And that was hard.
Yeah, it
But that's a
would be.
big race.
Yeah, it's a big race,
Like
yeah.
especially when you're used to 5s and 7s. I think that's sort of the traditional
Yeah.
number out there. But a
Yeah.
15 lapper, and like F3. I was on an F3 bike doing it. It's a long time for people to watch too. Like,
Yeah,
like
it
because
is.
by that time,
The field gets pretty spread out. Yeah.
So, but yeah, 15 laps was pretty damn cool. So,
be.
Formula 1, we had Aidan Wagner came out for the round.
Yeah.
Put it on pole. I think Cal second.
Yeah.
That'd be right. I think.
Yeah.
Every rider in the top 10 under a minute 20, and in that,
That's
it's a pretty
crazy.
damn good qualifying session. So
Yeah.
top 10, and then the rest of the field all under like a 24, I think as well. So
Yeah, they're
it's pretty good.
flying. Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
21 bikes again in Formula 1, I think as well. So,
Yeah.
any highlights from that weekend?
It's been a while. I'm trying to remember.
So Aidan did a 15.
Yeah.
And this is something obviously I chatted to Paul about as well. Like put perspective of the times in there. What's the lap record at the moment? Is it a 12?
12.8.
I think
I think was it 12.8,
12,
12.7?
Yeah, I
Seven?
think it's 12-7 Jonesy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memory, yeah. My
So,
case, yeah.
so to put that into a club round, a 15.2 or 15.3,
That's
it's moving
That's
along.
moving,
You know,
yeah.
like we spoke about the 16s from the last round, or the
Yeah.
first round as well. It's so damn fast. You know, you're talking.
Yeah.
You know, and you get the riders like Aidan and that coming out, and that it's probably going to drag the field a bit further towards that too,
Yeah.
potentially as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
I think he did help pull Callum down a little bit, didn't he?
Because Callum and Scott Allard, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure again. Hey,
Yeah.
they seem to be
Yeah.
trading blows a fair bit. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
in times and stuff. So yeah, but Formula One always a solid one to watch.
It's always fun to watch.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Christian.
Christian
O'Donnell?
O'Donnell.
O'Donnell again.
Yeah.
Unreal.
We had Yeah. He set a lap record again. I think he did.
I can't remember
He
off the
got
top of my
24.
head. He's been pretty on it all year.
Yeah.
He's been 23, 24 consistently.
Yeah.
If he did, that's pretty good because there was like, with that particular round, like there was a new surface in turn 4 that got just
that's
done
right.
as well.
Yeah.
So I think the lap times were still pretty good considering, but it certainly was something. It was sort of a topic of.
That was kind of in the back of everyone's mind.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was the Courier Mail article. That was
It
everyone was
was,
talking about
yeah.
that. There needed to be some gossip, and here it was. So,
Yeah.
what was it? Turn 4 and
Turn 4.
it was turn 4.
Most
Yeah.
like people were talking
People
on
talking about it?
Thursday, but
Yeah.
no, it wasn't too bad. Like I saw on the Friday track day, someone, I forget who it was, come up inside of me on the first lap, and I thought, far out, they're going to crash, and they made it stick on the back wheel. Like I'm thinking, all right, it can't be
Can't be
too
that
much.
bad.
Can't be that
Yeah.
bad. It just come up inside of me, crossed up, and made it stick like that.
Yeah.
Gives you a bit of confidence.
Yeah, I had a bit of a moment on Thursday morning going through there. Almost lost the front, but it was very early in the day, and I think I was probably there'd probably been less than 20 bikes over that at that point since it was actually laid down.
Wow.
So it was very slippery when we started. There was a bit of a weird bump halfway, like right on the apex.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of shift,
Yeah.
a little bit, it's fine.
What do you do, eh?
Yeah.
You need somewhere to race. It's
You ride the track.
You ride the track.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get yourself into the condition and figure it out from there.
Yeah, you go as fast as you can to the
Yep.
conditions.
Yep. That's the message you've delivered, and I think that's what everyone's got to sort of go by. Hey.
Yeah.
F1 and F2 clubman, obviously, another
man.
class that's cranking along. I don't know. It's like they're going to have to get a second class of that.
Yeah.
Because that class is looking damn solid too.
They are fast.
Fast as
Yeah.
well. 21
Yeah.
was pole for that. I think it
and-
was on the F2 bike too.
Yeah, it was Kev Arthur on his Gixxer 600.
It was, eh?
Yeah, and so I think he did qualify 21, but he ran flat 20s pretty much all weekend.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's
He's
fast.
flying, yeah.
Yeah. What do you do? Like that's a fast pack of riders, you
Yeah.
know. And it's there to get people in to proceed into getting into the F1 class or F2 class. But at
Yeah.
some point, maybe there's a time cutoff or something because that's bloody fast.
Really fast, yeah.
So but like looking at the timesheet and that. The same deal. It was like everyone was under a 24 for 10 riders or something. Like
Yeah.
that's a quick club time,
Yeah,
So
it is.
and what do we have there for the win on that one? That was Adrian Wilkinson for the Formula One bike.
Yeah,
Got the win on that. So
yeah.
tough weekend as well. And that obviously by the sounds of it, especially when you got so many bikes on track. There's a lot of bikes, a lot of big bikes on track in that class too. So
It's interesting to watch that particular grid and seeing the two classes of bikes mixed up.
yeah,
It's because you can see, you can definitely see where some of the quicker 600 riders might
Yeah.
get held up by a couple of the thousands, and then can't capitalize on the corner speed that they've got.
Yeah.
Because it's just enough. It's interesting to watch that dynamic.
absolutely.
And how they,
and shoot that Mark Ford, right? So
Yeah.
he's got 2022 R6 as well.
He's on a modern R6.
Modern
R6, yeah.
And they're not slow.
No.
Like they're definitely not slow, but
Yeah.
you could see through to like as he flicks it from 2 to 3, right? Makes up heaps of ground. Down 4 he loses a bit, but just like an R6 ain't slow, but you see it against the thousands on the straight, and it's just like it's
Yeah.
like a different bike.
Yeah.
It's like watching a 400 compared,
Yeah.
And they're not slow, and Mark's an awesome rider.
Yeah,
He's
he's
up
a
there
good
as well
one,
on the
yeah.
R6, so yeah, get used to that. So yeah,
Yeah.
anything to add?
Oh, it's just an interesting dynamic, and even like I went out and did a session on a Ducati V4R on a Friday, and just sort of touch on the speed difference. I think it was Mark that went out behind me, and I was like, I must have been riding like such a goon on the first lap trying to get used to a bike. And I'm like, I look around, I think Mark and Cameron Webster, they're loving it. Like, right up, I'm like, and then like I did a few laps, and I hit a neutral, someone into 4. So I like being a bike of that caliber, I was like, you're not really gonna, I'd just rather sort of stand up and click the gear properly under the circumstances. So then sort of set up, and then I had a few 600 train. I just jumped on for the last lap or two, and it's like, yeah, you the 600 is the quick, but when you're actually on a bike like that, like I feel like it'd be really easy to get lazy, because on the 600, like when I'm on a track day, you've really got to sort of work it to pass 1,000, or you got to like if you get your run blocked, it feels like sort of you get stabbed because they just drive you. But then like I got an average run out of 7 on this V4R, and then still like able to pass the 600s. I felt so bad, and I'm like doing it. Like, you're doing it on the rear wheel. It's just like
It's like you got time to look as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like on the fast bikes like that, like you've got time to actually see what's actually going on around you. Like if someone is at a lower speed or on the straight or something, you know.
Yeah.
I did a track day Thursday 2 weeks ago, right? And G6R 1000, crappy rider, fast bike, you know. So, but I was on it, you know, reasonable pace there, and what was it? What bike? H2R.
Yep.
Kawasaki H2R.
Oh, yeah.
So he came
Proper
out of,
fast bike.
Yeah, really fast bike, and
Yeah.
I came out of it's turn 2, it's QR,
Yeah.
and like going at a reasonable pace, you know, thinking pretty good. Then all of a sudden, this thing just pulls up and just like. You just hear it, and I tried to follow him for a lap, and we got out of 3, and the same thing. As soon as it drives out of the corner, you just hear that little bit of TC just tick, 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 and it just and pretty cool. Like that's the same deal. It's like being on a 600 to 1,000, then 1,000 to something that's totally insane.
Yeah.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to watch though. I
Yeah.
reckon.
It is fun to watch. That's something that I always enjoyed, and I kind of miss being on the 600 this year, is that being able to go fast enough to keep up with some of the ASBK Superbike riders. Like I've got memories of Jonesy going around me, going into turn 8, and just seeing that black line being drawn all the way around the corner, and you know the bike's bucking around, and you know he's so smooth, and he's just on it, and he's just gone. Like you can't do anything about it. Like it's very fun to watch.
Cool to watch.
Yeah.
What was I've got to ask you? Did you enjoy? You had very mixed conditions and heaps of things going on, but what was your feeling of riding a V4R?
It's a great platform. Like it was a bit of a shame to like basically jump on a superbike in the wet.
Yeah.
For the first time in a while was probably not the easiest conditions to do.
Right.
Like I don't want to sound like I'm making 1,000 excuses. I hadn't ridden in the rain for quite some time. I think 2000 and since I'd sort of taken a 4 or 5 year hiatus. So I was really happy to actually get to cut some laps in the rain, which was good. The electronics on it are unbelievable. Like in the first qualifying I was kind of gathering a bit of data, like because Brian hadn't ridden it in the rain either. So like I was testing out some of the modes and like how you calibrate and all that was pretty cool coming out of the pits. But like we put it on the full rain mode, and that was probably way too intrusive because the first few laps like I felt alright in the rain, but like when you're getting basically going side by side to a 600 down straight and you've got a 230 horsepower bike as opposed to 120, you know it's a bit too intrusive if it's not letting you do too much more, and I was definitely on the stopper. So then like the qualifying session we spent was just like I think it was 12 minutes. We just spent a lot of the time figuring out what map to run, but the electronics are really good, which make it quite like user friendly in the rain considering it's a 230 horsepower bike.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it was good. Like it was sort of one of those weekends where I had to keep my ego in check a little bit because like considering the value of machinery that's underneath me. The first race I did alright. Like I got up and I think I was 4th in F1 and I was really starting to sort of push, but the bike was quite stiff for me as well. Like it was sort of sprung for someone a bit heavier.
Yep.
So I was sort of noticing it from the back particularly. Like I'd go through 8 and like I had a big moment 1 lap through there and I'm thinking
Was it like bouncing or something through?
yeah, it was just like that, and it was almost a high side through 8. So it's like there's one thing I think that I've learned to appreciate a bit more this year. Like I've got a lot of support from Brian, Denise, and Team BWR, but it's like I think I'm becoming or understanding the financial side of it a bit more. Whereas when I used to ride, like it'll sound bad, but like when you have your parents paying for it, sometimes you can take that for granted. So the only barrier to crashing was, I guess, if you had any fear factor of getting hurt. Whereas now I feel like that's not really. Like I'm happy, like not happy, but I'm not really worried about that. It's more so like when you crash, you wonder how much it's going to cost everyone and cost what the actual cost is. And I think maybe that's a side of going older and getting more mature. It kind of sucks with racing, but and like like a lot of times it'll be alright. Like I've seen, for example, multiple like low sides where you can go in and you can still ride a bike back to the pits. It's just I think the last couple I've had of wouldn't call myself necessarily a crasher. Like it's average 1 a year, but it's they both just been where the bike hasn't really landed too well, so it's probably made me a bit more mindful of that. But back like to the V4R, it's unbelievable. Like I'd love to ride it, like to get to spend a day or two on it in a dry just to see what it's truly capable of, because Friday it was kind of misty. Well, we did 2 sessions on Friday. Probably the sketchiest session was a few of us went out on slicks in the first race on Sunday, and I was actually like, that was the first new set of tyres I put in, and I ended up going with a harder option rear. And it started like raining on the warm-up lap on slicks. And turn 4 was a bit wet, so I've gone through and had a little bit of a moment. And I honestly don't think, like, I was like I was a guy that crashed on a warm-up lap, and I just rode super, super conservative. I probably didn't even scrub a tyres in, to be honest, but I was going that slow. But
It'd be nice to have two dry days.
I had it
Yeah.
in full power in that race when it was on slicks in the misty conditions, and that was like, you know, probably pretty sketchy, but it was a fun experience nonetheless, and pretty grateful to get a chance to ride it.
Is that Jonesy's old one, do you know?
It was one of them. It was definitely a Desmo one.
It was a
I
Desmo
think
one,
it might have been Ollie's one because it has Ollie's
plate on
plate on it, like
Yeah.
on the Acro exhaust, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, cool.
And then like it's all the electronics and stuff. Like I only got probably a very small. Like it's got one that Brian's got now. It's got the standard electronics, so it's not got like the ASPK spec electronics in it, but still. Even that was quite, just testing it in the rain was quite impressive how it made the bike rideable in those conditions.
It's cool. Yeah, I was genuinely interested because you've ridden a superbike before, you know, as well. Like, two nice sunny days on the 2021 V4R would be really nice.
Yeah.
So to compare it to was it 16 probably last time?
2017.
17?
Yeah.
17? So like it's a few years in between, a few evolutions of bikes. It'd be interesting to sort of see. So
yeah.
Sidecars, Phil Underwood, Tristan Burko, same deal. They're on fire.
They've just got it.
They've got it. Something about them. They seem like a really good team.
Yeah.
Tristan's super happy, it seems, there. Had a fairly wild ride at the Masters, which we'll touch on as well. But for the round, they took the win, took pole. Solid win.
It's pretty cool watching a technique, like even in the wet, particularly with the sidecars. Like for me, it's something I've never done. Like I'm sure it's something that looks a lot easier than what it actually is. But like seeing how I don't know who was on wets, who was on slicks in that particular class, but seeing how the swinger actually manages their weight to get drive on the rear wheel. Like I remember seeing Daniel Turner, DJ, do it. I think in one of the wet rounds last year, and it was so cool to watch. Like it makes sense, but I've never thought of it, like how much of an impact the swinger actually has until I saw how effective. I don't remember if he was swinging for his dad or Corey at the time, but like he was just hooking up off the start, and DJ was like fully back with interest and started to adopt that style as well. Like there's a lot to it. It really is like a team effort, I think, between. And this is coming from someone that's never even ridden a sidecar. So sorry if I sound naive and none of this makes sense, but it just from the outside looking in, like I was able to pick up how much of a team effort. And I think maybe in the wet, like it kind of exaggerated that from an outsider's point of view.
Couldn't agree more. And talking to Tristan about that as well, the hanging off the back at the start. It was like a conscious thing that they made the thing up about the wet, and I'm like, I've been around bikes my whole life and never ever thought anything of that. You know, you feel that there's a position you're sort of locked into, but then there's the axis of left and right.
Yeah.
You don't think of forward and back as well to counter the weight to get it driving off the line and stuff. Like that's really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got next? What other classes? We got Formula 3 and Super Twins. James Morris, Brilliant RS 660, got the win.
Yeah.
Got that thing hooking up.
It's nice to see that thing out there.
Yeah, it's a piece of machinery.
That's nice.
Yeah, there's a little. Anyone watched any of the TT coverage?
I haven't
I'll
watched
see
it.
a lot of TikToks and Instagrams of
Yeah,
people going
just
like that far
snippets.
from the,
Yeah.
from the wall. It's
They're crazy.
They did a segment on the 660 like James rides, and it's the most I've seen anyone talk about those bikes, and they are a pretty cost-effective platform to go into Formula 3 racing as a bike that you can just go by, you know.
Yeah.
Don't modify anything yourself and stuff. And he seems to get it dialed, and William Course second, obviously on the MT. Another good weekend for him. No rebuilding bikes, I don't think.
No
this
weird
time.
deal. Yeah.
That's a killer story last time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he got second, and what do we got there for third place for that? That would have been Anthony Carroll, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So Formula 3. So he's got a good battle on his hands on the 400 up against the Aprilia 660 and the MT-07. So that pretty much covers those ones. What else we got? Clubman class, 23s was pole position. Peter Hope got pole that round. Did you guys get to see any of the Clubman at all?
I didn't get to watch it because I think it was
Probably before your race.
I think it was right before my race. Yeah. 23s.
Yeah, 23.
Was it really?
I took a note. Peter Hope, 123
Yeah, right.
for pole. It's hooking along as
That's
well.
well done. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have some, after commentating and seeing it a fair bit this year and that, they have some awesome battles. And someone we know through here a fair bit, Mick Day.
Yeah.
He's on a 99R1 and he got his first win that weekend.
Hey.
Up against electric bikes too. So
Yeah, cool.
it was pretty cool. So it's good to see him have a go at that. And he was up in the mix as well the whole weekend with Ian Freeman and that. But he got the win on the last race of the day. And
Yeah.
I think it was like 20. I think they got down to 21s or 22s as well.
Yeah,
on
right.
That. So nice and on the pace on a 98, 99 R1. So yeah,
That's moving along.
I think that pretty much concludes the round from the classes that I can think of. What else we got? Pre-2K,
Well,
obviously.
pre-2K,
Pre-2K,
yeah.
F1 and F2. Yep.
Yeah, Ashley, of course, was flying as he does.
Now, is that a similar bike to what you would have rode in spec? Do you know, Ashley Walford's R6? Probably.
That's a good question. Like, I think I've never actually ridden with Ashley out
Yep.
on track with it, so I don't know what that engine is compared to what is in. From what I understand, it's in the BWI Team BWI bike. That's still a relatively stock engine. I don't want to go and sort of comment on Ashley's engine just because
No.
I'd
But just judging by the times and that, like, Ashley's bikes are very well set up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good
like,
bike, you
if
know?
I think the lap record, it's a 19 now, might even be mid 19.
Yeah.
And I know like Carl Morgan is knocking right on the door of a 19 as well. So between those two, they're pushing each other along pretty well. And
Yeah, okay.
it was, they're cool. Like, and I guess if you're looking at another pretty cost-effective way to go racing,
Yep.
like
Yeah, you
they're
can
still
yeah.
pretty good bikes. Like I think from a handling point of view, like considering the age of them, having ridden it, like the biggest difference was probably just the power compared to a modern bike, and you don't have all of the auto blipper and this and that. But it's another cost-effective way, and that was a lot of fun to ride. And looking at the class and focusing on the racing, like there's some good racing between. Like Ashley's been driving at pace at the front, but then like the races I've been able to see, like there's been races where Carl's like knocking right on the door there as well.
And I think Carl had one of his bikes for sale online fairly recently, one of the R6s. I think it might have been one of his. It was cheap, like it's like $4,000 or something. I'm like, that is a pretty cheap way to get into race, like
Yeah.
a 99 R6 or something.
Competent machine for the
Yeah,
price
absolutely.
too. Yeah, yeah.
You know, and you can compete in two classes, which is always not always nice, but if you're fit enough, it's always nice to be
always
able to do
nice,
as well.
yeah.
Because you can chuck that straight into F2, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he rode one, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a 600.
Yeah,
like,
straight
it's-
away.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you know, if you're handy, you can be, you know, fairly well competitive as well. Like, very well competitive.
With an insane amount of defending, but yeah.
That was actually very fun to see. I don't know if you got. I don't know. You can see the straight very well from the commentary. Oh no, you weren't even there. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
see.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Fit.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun watching him come down the straight. He's like kind of like wandering down the course. Like there's just this train of modern R6s behind him.
Seriously?
I'll look behind. I wasn't leading, but I'd hold to the right as long as I could, and then wouldn't call it a PlayStation line as such, but like the thing is, like we are like, well, because Josh, we all race each other on a PlayStation, so it's like we obviously race a bit more erratically on that than what we do in real life, but it kind of reminded me of that. And then so I just a point from that race was like I think it was lap 4 or 5. I
Yeah.
looked behind and. Well, not look behind, but you can kind of, if you look far enough ahead through turn 4, out of your peripheral, you can kind of see the entry into 4.
Yeah.
And I still saw bikes coming into 4. I don't want to know how many people were actually in that train, but I knew if I lost one position, if I didn't have if I was getting checked in the corners, I wouldn't, I needed to have that clean air to run corner speed to hold them off down the straight.
Yep.
And I don't think, Josh was on a fairly old CBR as well, so I don't think he had an extreme amount of horsepower of me or anything, but it's like some of the other bikes that more modern R6s in there, and I knew if I got a bad run, I'd just be like, I don't know, like bait for them to
Swallow it up.
Yeah, it only
Yeah.
takes that one little check too, doesn't it? As soon as you're
Yeah.
out of that rhythm or you're caught up behind them, no chance, you know.
Yeah.
That's a credit to Josh on that CBR too. That's
Oh,
what
absolutely.
he's doing.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
You just touched on that as well, I was going to say. He's flying on that. So.
Oh, it won't be too long until that's somebody. You can't really call it pre-tick because it's just be relative to the
Evolution
age will
of
be
it.
coming
Yeah.
through.
I think Josh too was saying that he hasn't really done anything too much with fiddling with the suspension yet either.
Wow.
So he hasn't even
Wow.
gone down that road yet.
Riding really well.
So he's hoping for a bit of help for that. Hopefully this next round, and
Yeah.
then they can
Get it
do some
dialed up.
changes and get it more suited to him.
Some awesome club racing. When you look at it, like every class, you go through that, like we've been through pretty much everyone there. Like there's a good battle throughout the whole field through everything as well. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty good. So
Yeah, it is.
I think
Yeah.
we pretty much touched on everything for that round.
Yeah.
Got anything else to talk about? Club pilot stuff? Anything to do with that?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
We'll touch on the Masters of Morgan Park. Obviously, that was in mid-May as well.
Yeah.
We spoke about it a little bit before, but it was soaking wet. It was cold. Like, it had everything that made you not want to get out of like a commentary area. Like, it was really nice up there. But nah, in all seriousness, I filmed for a little bit of the Friday afternoon when you said you went out for the sessions and that.
Oh, yeah.
And then filmed a bit Saturday morning with some of the Harley stuff, and Yeah, it was tough conditions, but the whole weekend, like everyone was just like under control. There was like no incidents.
Yeah, so I wasn't there. I wasn't there over the weekend, but I
Yep.
was told. I was told that there was surprising lack of
Yeah.
of crashes. I mean, considering the conditions and
Yeah.
everything. I know the club president was out there racing for the first time in a while.
Yep.
You know, Paul was
Yeah.
out on his motard, and he said he had. I think the race you were talking about that was kind of dry. He said I should have gone out on slicks, but I went out on wets and I just burned them up. but,
He got
yeah.
out his FSA FS450.
That's right.
Husky.
Yeah, the Husky. Yeah.
Good to see him out having a run.
Yeah.
I think he got up to
And he
third.
did all right.
I think he got up to third
Yeah.
one of the races,
Yeah.
So, and mixed in with like 748 Ducatis and
Right.
like obviously mixed class for that. So it was Formula 3 and Formula 5 or something.
Okay.
Maybe. And yeah, like to be on a FS450 Husky up against a 748 or
That's a bit of a
it's a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
You
but
know?
there's-
So and they flow really well, those Dukes as well. So corner speed and stuff. So they did really well. So heaps of entries though. I don't know if you've seen the entry lists and that. And obviously Michelle, you were there.
Yeah.
Lots of entries for that that
Yeah.
weekend. So yeah. Any highlights for you that weekend?
Well, the only race that I did get to do, I ended up finishing second in my class for the first time ever.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome.
Being
Congrats.
podium. So
Yeah.
that was cool. We won't mention how many bikes were actually in the class, but that's all right.
5,000.
But yeah, so that was cool for me. So I would have liked to have seen if I had been able to race the whole weekend.
Yep.
What I could have done, and I just being back on that bike, I just love it. So
That's cool.
it was that was definitely the highlight of my weekend because I got to ride it, which I hadn't ridden since last year. So yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that thing. Well, usually you can hear it being warmed up.
Yeah. Normally you can hear me. And thanks to Kazoo because he like just does all the work on the engine and stuff for me, and he always gets it ready for me when I want.
Yeah.
So I love it.
I guess what we'll do, because like Michelle, you were there, Troy, you were there in a different capacity, but we'll just run through a few like honourable mentions and things for the weekend as well. But Brian Wood, obviously, he you got a relationship with him through your team and that. He rode really well too. That's his first ride in a while, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well,
He's a bit
he's come
injured,
back.
eh?
He had a shoulder injury at the
Yeah.
start of the year, and going into that weekend wet, I was thinking like, because Brian's got a bit of experience riding in England, and I was thinking like, he could be a really a real dark horse if it rains. And then like just seeing his confidence after qualifying, I thought he's going to be on for a great weekend. And yeah, he rode fantastic. Like he ended up getting I believe he was named the master of Morgan Park from the
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
And he won F2 and F3 on the RBM 998. So yeah, he rode really good. You could probably open up a clinic on how to ride in the wet, and you'd get a lot of people, including me, sign up for that one.
He looked really good.
Yeah, and I guess from a highlights perspective as well, for me, it was just like the change in attitude towards riding in the wet. Like I think a few people seemed a bit hesitant at the start of the weekend. Then as you mentioned, like I guess there wasn't really a lot of crashes, so people took maybe that added bit of caution. But like by the end of the weekend, the amount of people that I could see, or even just from Facebook posts as well, that they actually had a lot of fun riding in the wet. Like I think a lot of people realised, because we haven't had a proper full wet race
No.
weekend in a while. Like there's been races or like kind of patchy, crappy conditions, but at least that was like for the majority full wet. So it was at least on a Saturday. So it was, I think it kind of opened people's eyes to how like most people you ask probably preference will still be to go ride in the dry, but I think it actually opened people's eyes to how fun it can be to ride in the wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And judging by the amount of crashes and whatnot, like a lot of people seem to adopt a lot of people seem to, I guess, adapt to it pretty well, and the track certainly isn't sketchy in the rain, because you'd think there'd be a lot more crashes if it was.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like the modern tyre, how much grip,
Yes.
a wet tyre, how much grip is actually offered as well.
Yes.
I think that's something as well. Like if you're going out in patchy conditions and that, you don't get to feel that confident. But if you've got a whole weekend of riding on wets, there's so much feel and feedback through those tyres. So definitely going to help.
That was good to watch for when some of the classes were out in the rain when it was raining,
Yeah.
and just to get your own head around the fact that they are still at pace on those tyres.
Yeah.
It is just, and it's holding everything. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And to get your head around that, though, would probably be you know, I mean, you've all had experience with that sort of stuff.
Well,
but
very little, actually.
That would be,
Ben Lowe.
Yeah.
That's got to be one person we
Oh,
can talk about.
yeah.
I don't think he got touched for the weekend, I think.
He was gone. Like
He did so
his
well.
First him, second daylight, really.
What was it?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what he was on? I think it was
I think it's the same as what.
$12.99?
Yeah, I
FE?
believe it's
Maybe.
Ryan Yanko's. One of them was Ryan Yanko's old V4 Rs.
Nah, V2. Still
Oh,
two.
okay. Sorry,
I think,
yeah, I haven't actually seen a bike.
I think, but yeah, like, gee, he
closely,
looked
but
good on
yeah,
that though.
Yeah, he was on it.
Sorry, mate.
All conditions.
Footsies. Yeah, he looked good though. Yeah,
He's,
and-
it'll be interesting to see how he goes this weekend because I think he'll be able to take some confidence from that. And
Yeah.
then, like, he's been knocking on a door beaner in a dry as well. And I think each round this year he's gotten quickest. So, yeah, like, you know,
Yeah.
it will be interesting. But yeah, credit to him. He rode like 4 races and we did have mixed conditions, definitely in one of them. And every condition, like, he was pretty much untouchable.
What is certain racetracks and like you look at MotoGP and that they'll say maybe 10 seconds. That's about what the wet to dry. Some of these,
Yeah.
maybe 10 or 12 seconds or something. Do you reckon that's about there? Because I think he was doing a 28, 29, I think, in the wet when he had it wigged up.
Last year we had that one round where it rained. I think it was a Sunday. It rained.
Yep.
And my lap times went from a 120 to a 129 or a 130.
It's about 10.
So yeah.
About 10-second
That's
trap.
good.
Yeah, so if he's doing 28s or something wet, 29s, probably in the 118s with, or more. It's hard to
It's
tell.
hard to put a bracket on it because, like, it
Yeah.
really depends on, I guess, how fast that rider is relatively in a dry to what they are in
Yeah.
a wet. Like, I mean, taking it back to 2000 and, like, say when I was probably going, like, when I was having to go in the wet, like, say when I was sort of racing HPK Super Sport, it was about that 10 to 12.
Yep.
But then, like, surface was different back then. So I guess if you're talking relative to it now, I think, yeah, sounds like a pretty good sort of rough figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's roughly where I think it's at, about 10 to 12 seconds. So
Yeah.
Superbike Masters, that was the first bike class of the weekend. That was obviously a hotly contested one. Corey Glock got pole. Murray Clark, I think, ended up getting away with the win for the weekend, I
Yeah.
think, in that one. Both on Gixxer 750s or 711s, I'm pretty sure, in that class. They're flying, absolutely flying all weekend. Very well prepared bikes, the pair of them. So that was that class. Just going to run through a couple of different things. Ben Lowe, obviously,
Yeah.
got Bears Formula 1, Formula 2, pretty much sewn up with what he did. Like, that was insane. Troy got overtaken by Shane. That's I think I've got a note here. We'll go past that. We'll
No
take that
comment.
away. Okay, so P6 250 to 500, pre-2K up to 250. Tell you what, as a commentator, the classes, oh my goodness, like it was like 80 characters. Like Twitter wouldn't allow it on, you know? Like it was,
Yeah.
like when I'm trying to read it out, it was like pre-2K to 250 to 500 under 1993. Like it's so much stuff. But we have that class. Carroll, McLaughlin, Van Boomer, they traded blows pretty much all weekend. And Michelle, you're obviously in that class as well. So we got that one as well tucked away. McLaughlin, Van Boomer, they're actually on fire at the moment. Liam Van Boomer really coming on.
Yeah.
All through the year. Do you get to ride with him much or get to see him much at the rounds or what? No.
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 I went and watched Turn 4 in one of her races. He's got a really nice style.
Really
like,
flowy, eh?
Yeah, like we went out down, I think it was like Sunday lunchtime, and I can't remember if it was like, if he was on wets or might have been a dry race, but yeah, no, he looked like he had a great sort of smooth style for before. It was good to watch.
Really flows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good to watch. P6, P5, 500, 750. P6, 500, 750. Pre-2K, 500, 750. Ash Wolford, once again. Untouchable. Pretty hard to beat at the moment in that class. Honourable mentions as well. Michael Edwards, that R1 that he's on at the moment.
Yeah.
They came from scrap pretty much in a short
Yeah.
time to get to being out there.
Yeah,
Pretty
Yoshi
cool
did a
looking
lot of work on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks good, eh?
It does look
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
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 He had a pretty impressive moment. Did you see the video?
Yes.
Oh
Did you see
man.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
that's
crazy.
awesome.
Good shots too. That's,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
footage. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's it's pretty scary.
Yeah,
So,
it would be.
Good save.
Tell you what, like obviously Michael does a lot of laps
Yep.
in a lot of racetracks, which is an awesome thing. But to be trading an R1M for a weekend to a 98 R1 or whatever to basically what you've just done, very hard to do. and be successful and competitive on, you know.
Yeah.
Good to watch.
They do handle very different. The older bikes do.
Yeah.
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 Very different.
Still good.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Electronics though, hey, that's still a big part to the new thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So one of the other coaches on the Thursday before Masters let me take his R1M out for a session.
Oh, okay.
And Luke Cooper, and it's his bike is it's pretty much a stock standard bike with fiberglass on it.
Yeah.
But it is amazing what it can do. You can lean on the wheelie control, like coming up over the hill onto the straight in third gear, and it just kind of
Does what it needs.
it just
to
does
do.
what it needs to do. Yeah. It's impressive what the modern bikes can do.
And that's the hard thing when you do go back to carbies and none
Yeah.
of it. You know, that I think that's the big thing to just the perspective of it. It's very hard to just your brain to process that thing because it's at speed too. You're making all these decisions, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Is this the bike that's got such and such, you know, traction control or wheelie control
Yeah.
or something, or is this the one that doesn't? No, they feel totally different, but it still takes a bit to try and get your head around.
Yeah, well, it's just like the age-old thing, like going back and forth between race and road shift. Like,
Yeah.
everyone pushes that lever the wrong direction at least once.
So this Gixxer I've just bought is the first bike, 25, 30 years of different race bikes. I've never had race shift on any of them.
Yeah, right.
So this one had it set up, so I thought, it's set up, I'm not going to play with it, I'll just let
Give
it
it
be.
a shot.
And 2 mistakes so far. and it's heated too, like it's like where you're chasing someone or you're doing
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and it's not like when I'm in my own pace, my own thing, but it's when you're actually caught up in a furious thing and that's right, this has got that.
Yeah.
It's hard, eh?
Yeah, it is.
So, sidecars. Oh, we mentioned Jason Martin, Ben Rippon, same in that class.
Yeah.
Awesome battles. Benny and Brian, mate, Ben's on the 748, Brian's on the 998 or 6? 998. Brian Wood? Is it 998?
Yeah, I don't know, because Ben was F1, Bears, and then Brian was F2, because I know Brian won F2 and F3, and Ben Lowe won F1.
Oh, my
So-
mate Ben Rippon, sorry.
Oh,
He's on a
sorry,
748
yeah,
Ducati, and
Well,
your
Ben's-
mate's on a 996 or 998? Brian Wood.
Good question.
I thought it was
I'll
a
have to-
996.
I think my gut's saying 996.
Not that it matters,
Yeah.
but
But,
yeah.
2 cc's is a big
difference. Yeah,
Um,
those two guys traded blows the whole weekend. Like,
Mm.
it was cool to watch. So, 748 versus 996 or 998, whatever. That was cool.
Yeah, it was.
Sidecars, Tristan and Phil, they had a mad wild ride out of turn 2 again. Phil's done this a few rounds now, where, like, sitting in the commentary for this one, like, you see him coming into turn 1, and you're like, okay, like, I don't know how they're going to get through turn 2 here. Like, this is it. And I spoke to Tristan afterwards, and he's like, there's one time, who was he swinging for before? Who was it again on the green one 2 years ago? What's his name?
I feel like I should know this.
Yeah, he's a club guy. Everyone knows him.
Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
Dan the Psycho Man.
Dan the Psycho Man, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He goes, there's only one other time that I've been into turn 1 as quick, and it was with Dan one day, and we were like, it's like that heart in the mouth, that sort of
Yeah.
feeling. And yeah, when they came around, they just lost traction on all 3 and over the side and picked it up. I think they might have got back still to first or second anyway.
What did they like crash it? Like flip it?
No, I didn't flip
Oh.
it, but just launched it.
Oh, okay.
And then sideways, and then picked it back up. Same basically thing as with Lanita in round
Oh,
1.
yeah.
Right.
Same sort of
He
go.
didn't get thrown off?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Saved on it.
Oh.
And then there was another one.
This.
He just saved it, like, it was full on.
Yeah, right.
And then there's another sidecar one coming around 3 that just went straight out of 3.
Oh,
Saved
right.
it. Awesome. Good battles of sidecar. 12 sidecars in this round.
So I thought it's so much fun to watch that.
Yeah, it's good. Good to
Yeah.
commentate. And I'm just going to check the notes, obviously, but we had, it was Michael Elton, because there's 2 Eltons there,
Yeah.
and Christine Clancy was Michael's partner, and they were on fire as well. It was between them for the first 2
Okay.
2 positions on it, so that was cool. Bears F3 and F5, that was the class that PD was in.
Yep.
Michael Ricks got pole on his supermoto. Paul was on the 450, and then I got the note of Brian Wood and Ben Rippon, obviously having the battle there for that one. We've
Yeah.
touched on that. Pre-2K, 250, 500. P3 up to 250 and 250, 500, and then another class mixed into it. Anthony Carroll once again,
Yeah.
pole position. Hard to beat from there. P2 was Adrian Beck. Then Jeff Martin on Did you see the classic Hondas there? Those two really nice classic Hondas. Did you see, Michelle? They were red with the silver tank, like the original like Isle of Man looking bikes.
Yeah.
500s
Yep.
or 450s. They got first in their class as well. So that was Jeff Martin and Jason Piggott. Bears F4 was basically a Roaring Sporties class thrown in with a couple of Triumph Thruxton, and the rest was Harleys pretty much.
Okay.
And then obviously it was Matthew Edwards on the Laverta as well.
Oh.
And he won the weekend.
Yep.
And was really quick. And the bike
Yep.
looked really good. Who's this at? Do you know if that's Smarty's?
Yeah, I think he's
I think
riding
it is.
Smarty.
Smarty's
Yep.
bike, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was. So, yeah, that was cool. Cool to watch.
It was Smarty to get out there for a little bit of a race in one of them.
Yeah, he did it on
Yeah.
Saturday morning or something, hey?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. In the dryer race. Yeah. So he had a little bit of fun.
Yeah. Nice bikes to be out there.
It's so fun to see that. Like, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with R6s and R1s, but it's really nice to see the variety of the Masters events. Really,
Absolutely.
there's so many cool bikes.
Yeah, the sounds and,
Yeah.
you know, everything that goes with it. And even some of the spec of some of the Bears F1 bikes. Like Nathan Spiteri was there.
Yeah.
He had the full ASPK spec. Well, it was probably better than ASPK spec. Did you see it?
Yeah, I
Bears
did have a
1000?
look. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty well kitted.
Yeah.
I'm like just some of the bikes that rock up, you're like,
Yeah.
where's this one been hiding? You know? So, yeah, there's some cool bikes floating around. John Williams, Sam Luchetti, battle of the weekend, those two. John Williams, I think, ended up getting the win for that class, apart from, well, that was the Roaring Sporties classes anyways. But, yeah, solid race for him. And obviously Dave Butler as well had another battle with those guys as well.
Right.
So, 21 Harleys racing around the track.
It's fun to watch.
That's
That
pretty
was
good to
cool.
watch.
The
Yeah.
times they did, considering they're not allowed to use wets in the wet, was quite impressive.
Yeah.
And they're on 19s. Like,
Yeah.
they're not even on 17s, I don't think,
Yeah.
either. So they're not even on... They're good tyres, but it's not like going to put a set of 17-inch rims on them and doing this and that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. So,
Fun to
Yeah.
watch.
Killer.
John's a character. Like he was, he loves a bit of banter as well, and he used to be a very handy 600 rider.
Yeah.
I shouldn't really say back in his day, but like when he was racing a 600 rider, he was certainly right up there at a club level. So
yeah.
I think he's pretty versatile. Whatever he hops on, he'll find a way to make it go good.
Yeah, he's got some skills.
Mm.
Definitely a very skilled rider, and does love to talk it, like, talk crap, like, which is good. So, yeah, so he's chucked himself into Roaring Sporties this last year and this year, and you know, he's really thrown it in there.
Yeah.
But it's been good. It's been good to watch, and yeah, he got the win. And Dave Butler though, did you ever race against Dave? Do you know? Bring back memory. Ring a bell?
I can't say it rings a bell. Like I'm really
may
sorry
have.
if I have,
Yeah.
but I just can't. Yeah, I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Looked awesome too. Looked really quick. So
Mm.
he's coming back into that. What do we got? P6, P4, 500, 750, a few classes. Mark Torrance, pole. Liam Van Boomer as well. Got the race wins as well. Mixed up between him and Kieran McGowan as well. So Kieran was on fire and has been. Hey, like just gets into a nice comfortable pace and looks like very comfortable throughout the race. But yeah. Last class as well was basically the Greg Hansford Trophy, which is the trophy race for the weekend.
Okay.
Ben Lowe pole, but Jason Martin got the win.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Jake's got the win in that. Second was Mo Clark. Ben Rip on third, and fastest of the weekend win to the 23s in the semi-wet, semi-dry. So yeah, that was basically the Masters of Auckland Park
Yeah.
in 12 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was some good racing, and it was, you know, the worst conditions I've seen out there for probably 5 or 6 years, and everyone was fantastic in it, and it was, you know,
I think it really illustrates a love for the sport, doesn't it?
love for the sport and how good the club. It's
Yeah.
great for the club, like to see everyone, I don't know, have respect to treat it as a good event still. You
Yeah.
know, like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
you know, don't go out there and just all of a sudden think it's dry, and, you know, I think it's a respectful thing. I think it's good to see. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
what do we got coming up? Next round?
Next round.
We do.
Next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Stacked, because I know I've been in touch with a few of the ASPK guys. At least 600 wise, I think there'll be a few coming up. So,
Yeah.
and then some of the local guys like Johnny and hopefully Mitch does it as well. Mitch Coon, like
Yeah.
it'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll I think it'll raise the pace of the club.
For sure.
Club stuff, and
Yeah.
it'll only be like more numbers on the grid and more depth in the field. It's not going to hurt by any means. And then on top of that, you've got the growing capacity or growing, in your clubman classes as well. Like I think it's I think it's going to be a very, 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 very stacked like weekend as in regards to numbers as well as just talent.
Yeah. Because
Well-
the next ASBK round's up here in Queensland.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it
it
makes
is.
makes
Yeah.
perfect sense to come out and get some actual race time, you know. So
Yeah, and just judging by how quickly Kate posted up how fast things sold out.
Yeah.
It was less than an hour for the coaching and track day, I think.
Yeah, that coaching day went quick.
It
I
went
was,
very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good to see, but
that's what you want.
Yeah.
yeah, there's going to be. I think it's going to be stacked grids. It should be fun to watch.
I see a time, like, if it keeps going the way it is, where it's like a split. You nearly have to split F2 Clubman to F2 Clubman and F1. You know what I mean? Like, F1's
Yeah.
got 24 bikes.
Yeah.
Up to, and F2's got, which is a healthy club. Like, that's unreal. Production 400, 24 bikes.
Yeah.
They're huge grids,
It's huge,
like every
yeah.
class, so.
And there is a limit. Like MA has a limit
Yeah.
for how many is it?
Yeah.
Is it 30?
32, I think.
Okay.
Mm.
Probably
Yeah.
30. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends if it's. Yeah, don't know. I have to look at it, but
Yeah.
yeah, but like it's a lot of bikes, and if you start getting a couple of ASBK people coming through it as
Oh.
well, you start to that F2 grid's going to be massive.
Yeah.
For that round at least. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Speaking of ASBK, by the time this publishes, we'll have it officially announced. But Sporties has officially agreed to toss their club bike into the mix for
Awesome.
the Morgan Park round.
Yes.
So I've been training hard for the last couple months and getting ready for it, getting the bike ready, and we got a little bit to go, but we'll be out at the couple test days next month.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
I'm
awesome.
very excited for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So
Yeah.
what's that? That's the first weekend of August, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's the
yeah.
6th
right,
and 7th.
right before the
yeah.
endurance weekend, isn't it?
oh, yeah, weekend
Yeah.
before,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah.
Ah.
Good. Oh, shouldn't really say ASBK would be a warm up, but for the longer distance
Yeah,
races,
yeah, longer
you-
distance races.
it'll make the ASBK races feel short doing
Yeah.
the enduro weekend after.
Are you doing enduro? Don't-
Yeah, I think I'm teaming up with Antoine
Oh,
on
yeah.
the 300s.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
so I might give that a go.
You giving it a go?
Yeah.
You?
I am.
Can you say? Oh, gee, top secret. Maverick.
My intention is to be on. I'll be on the 600
Right.
for the endurance event. I'd like to do the 300 as well, but it will depend on finding a teammate. Honestly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
if you want to use the one bike, I'll jump on a 300 with you.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. Like, I don't
Sure.
think we're gonna do it. Yeah, I actually asked Brian because we did a bit of a working bit at Gary's the other day to get all the team bikes back together and then
Yeah.
delivery, so it was pretty cool. But aside from sort of drifting away from the topic, I think, like I've run it by him, but I don't think it's something. He said like if I wanted to do it, I could, but I don't know. If I could find like maybe an R3S, I want to hop back on for that round. Like it'd be kind of cool.
Oh,
Just
that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
cut a few laps and like the 600 is definitely a sick bike to ride, but I miss going out and getting in the slipstream train on those R3s as well. Like there's
That
something
is a
about
lot of
that
fun,
that just
yeah.
can't be replicated.
That
Yeah.
would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah,
That's a lot of fun.
I'm trying to figure out how I can commentate from the pits because I'm going to do it as well.
Yeah.
So Mick Day, the gentleman with the 99 R1
Yep.
we were talking about, he's thinking about doing it. I was thinking about teaming up with him. So
All right.
just trying to figure out how I could make it work. But it'd be cool to be able to try and race it as well. So yeah, we'll see.
Maybe on bike comment. We need
Yeah,
a mic.
comment
See
to
exactly
it.
how Simon Craig
That's
does
what
in
he
one
said.
lap. I reckon you can like outdo Simon by about however many laps you do on the track, 60 laps, and give us lap by lap
That's what he
commentary.
said. That's what Mick actually
And,
said to me. He goes, maybe like on track commentary, like a wireless system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hook a few riders up to like. There's possibilities of those things. It'd be pretty cool, like
Team
in the
radio.
It'd be unreal to actually get that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
for
you'd
sure.
want to put a microphone in my helmet.
No, that's yeah. You'd have to pick the right person, because it is probably semi-live without a few second delay or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It'd be pretty neat to actually do though. Like I think
Yeah.
at some point, like just got to have the right person, the right delay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. But that's coming up. Obviously, that's August, so that's pretty short time as well.
Yeah, that'd
so
be
it's
great.
not too far.
It's
So.
a good time. It'll be a nice weekend just to unwind from ASBK in a sense, because like don't get me wrong, there's certainly people, and it's like a serious event, but it's also a really fun event as well.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a standalone event, so it's not like you have to, you know, try to keep points through a series
Yeah.
or
Right.
whatever. It's like, you know, you can just go out there and have a bit of fun. And
Yeah.
if you like want bulk track time, I don't think you can really get any more of it.
Exactly.
More than you
Yeah.
can handle. Yeah.
It's good, and then it's just always a good fun with enduro. Like and just the actual like feeling of satisfaction you get when you finish it. Like I know it's not a 24 hours of spa or something, but it's still like an endurance race, and
Still an accomplishment.
like it's
Yeah,
an
that's it.
accomplishment.
It is
yeah.
hard, and it's
You're
hard on the
testing
machines.
yourself,
and,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you something to train a bit different for or train for
Yes.
as well. I think it gives you a different goal to everything else. So I think it's really cool.
Definitely.
For sure. I'd be happy to see like another one on the calendar. Like it's
Yeah.
it's fun. Like it's just There's so much banter around it as well. At least like within our little like PlayStation group and all of that. Like every
Stuff that
comes
goes on
around.
that.
Yeah, that should be published.
Nah, it's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had even just like competitors just kind of not like really trying to stuff you up, but like just being distracting during a rider change.
Oh.
You know, like last year, like
Yeah.
Aaron rolls up and I'm getting ready to go, and then like we're sitting there watching the clock because you have to be stationary for 30 seconds, I think it was. And
Yep.
Yeah, like couple mates are next door like trying to distract me. Don't go, it's time to go. Yeah, you're like.
It's good, eh?
Yeah.
It's good banter.
Yeah.
We've been doing on Ride 4 the hour-long enduro online races as well.
Oh,
Me,
wow,
Josh,
yeah.
and Trav. We're just going at it for like an hour. I think it was like Utah, and getting in the vibe for it. But it's like Steve said, it's just like it's a unique dynamic, and it's one that provides a lot of fun.
Yeah, plenty of track time and lots of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
For sure.
We'll be up there next weekend. So
Yeah.
thanks Michelle for coming in.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really cool to have you here, and look forward to seeing you up there racing next weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I'll be on 2 bikes.
On both bikes?
Both bikes,
Actually.
or both at once.
I may be getting a go on a Moto 3, so
Oh.
that will be cool. So the NSF 250 Challenge Cup's going to be running as well. It's their last round.
All right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Kazoo runs that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're mixing it in with Southern Downs stuff. So, and he put a bike together for me to have a go. So, thanks to Steve, Ralph, and Taylor, I'll be running on her old bike
Wow.
because she's doing a 2-hour, I think in Sydney or
She
something.
might be doing St George.
Yeah,
Maybe
St George run.
today.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then she'll be back on the Moto 3 in a few months, I think. So, but yeah, I get to have a little bit of a run, which
That'll
will
be
be
great.
it's exciting.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Speaking of Moto 3s, I think young Cameron Swain's going to be.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Moto 3 this round. Yeah.
So I think he's hoping to have maybe 10 Moto 3s all up.
That's going to be
Hopefully.
sick.
Oh, that's
So-
going to be fun to watch F3.
Yeah.
Good sound too.
And
Oh,
Sarah
it
will be on her
Yeah.
Morawaki and that in that class
Yep.
as well.
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah.
That'd be good. So
Yeah.
it's next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, that's going to be fun to
Yeah,
watch.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Can't believe that's the first I've heard about it too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
I didn't even realise, like, I figured this time last year there was a few Moto 3s there, but
Yeah.
it was like usually with the 300 kids, bringing a second bike to get a bit of track
Yeah,
time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's going to be awesome because you got young Cam Swain. I know Cameron Duncan's going to do it as well, from what I
Yeah.
understand. There's some big talent in that class, and
Young
those
talent,
machines
yeah,
are
yeah.
unbelievable.
They're a good machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
that's cool. So yeah, I'll look forward to that. And so that's next weekend.
Yep.
Nice fine weekend, hopefully for everyone.
Yeah.
Club Pilot, if you ever need anyone to ask you questions, you're the man to go to.
That's
Obviously.
right.
So
Come find us right in the middle of the pits.
yep. So then that's part of it. So I was supposed to introduce you as a Club Pilot at the start, so I just going to drop it a few times in there. So thanks for coming in, Troy.
happy to be here. It's awesome.
Done
Thanks,
well,
mate.
mate. And we'll see you around.
That's all we have time for on today's show. If you get the chance, head over to YouTube and hit subscribe on the Talk and Chatter page. Also, head over to iTunes and give us a star rating and a review there. It all helps to get the podcast out there. A big thank you goes to everyone that's been doing this already, and we'll be back with another show soon.